Get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our sports-loving ladies, Lauren Brooks and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Hey, show me what you got, pretty lady.
I want to say congratulations to Tim Tebow, his wife Demi Lee, on the birth of their first child, their little baby girl born on Sunday. Congratulations to them. I am sure that it was a whirlwind, that's right, RJ, as most labor and deliveries are. But excited for them to have Daphne Rain Tebow.
That's so cute.
Yes, so cute. Yeah, she posted why she named her that. So if you care, you can go read about it. But family name in the first part, and then a little girl that they've cherished for a long time inspired the second part with the middle name Rain.
How do they spell Rain? Like normal?
Reign.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so super cute. Congratulations to them. Also, yesterday I missed the fact, before the show, I realized it after. It was Todd Golden's birthday and Thomas Houck's birthday yesterday. Todd Golden turned the big 4-0.
We missed those.
We did, so happy belated birthday to them.
Yeah.
Taylor, today the new series of Quarterback was debuted, or unveiled, I should say. Released is the best word, on Netflix. I watched every second of the first Quarterback series that came out, 2 seasons ago? And I watched only the first episode so far today. That's all I had time for.
Yeah.
But I'm already obsessed.
I heard Dan talking about it this morning and saying he loves it. I don't remember. I don't think I watched all of the last one. I think I started and then never really finished and then cut back in at some point and still never finished. I love Joe Burrow, so I'm very excited to see Joe Burrow.
He is very odd person.
He is. He's strange, but I love that about him. Like, he is who he is. He doesn't try. I heard, and like Dan, they were making me laugh this morning because Dan said, or Jeff was like, is he, like too much? Like, I can't remember the wording he said. And then ET was like, nah, he's him. And I was like, that's like that. He's just who he is.
Does he get too much credit?
Yeah. Does he get too much credit? And it is. I think Joe's strange. He dresses very strange and he's a little quirky. And when you watch interviews, like the way he communicates is a little odd sometimes. But I love that he's never changed. It's just been what he's been, and he's never tried to alter that whatsoever, and he'll ask funny questions on the sideline, and I just love that about him. It will be interesting. Kirk Cousins to me is just like dad, like they say unk, the young kids say unk, like that's how I feel about Kirk Cousins. But the fascinating storyline of that quarterback room and in Atlanta, I think that adds some things to the interest in that side. So I probably will watch it this time, especially because Joe Burrow's on there. I'll definitely be tuning in.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is weirdly calm. I'll say that, as far as being both on the field. That's how he is as a quarterback, and then off the field like that too. In just the first episode, he says, I don't like to do laundry or do dishes. And it's like, yeah, duh. Like, nobody enjoys.
I don't either.
Right. We just have to do it. And he's like, I don't even know if I'd know how to work my washer dryer. So I'm like, well, we're peeling back a little bit of how spoiled you were growing up.
I know people like that. Like, I know people who have never had to do laundry and didn't even grow up in where they have money now or ever in their life. It was just kind of like roles where mom did laundry and then mom always did laundry. And now they're like, I really don't know. Like, I know to throw it in and push a button, but
really not hard.
It's not.
Yes, it's annoying to have to do laundry as often as we have to do it, and folding it and putting it away is the hard part. The machines do all the work.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking about
hard
scrubbing it back in the day. But either way, knowing you, I knew you'd enjoy the Joe Burrow behind the scenes stuff. And then, of course, you've got Jared Goff, who I think is one of the most likable quarterbacks in all of the NFL. Not just because of what he went through being traded from the Rams to the Lions, but also just how he is as a person. And he's not afraid to show emotion, which reflects certainly his head coach now, Dan Campbell. And I love that part. Like, right in the first episode, he's moved to tears and talking about the Lions organization and what it's meant to him, which I loved. And then, to your point, Kirk Cousins it's interesting to watch him go through the Achilles rehab. That they documented that in the first episode. But he's also literally just an everyman. He's so not a multi-million-dollar paid quarterback.
That's what it is with him. That's why I said it feels like he's just like the dad or uncle at the barbecue that you would just kind of chat with, but he happened to make a lot of money.
All the dad jokes are coming, from him. But I think he and his wife are just very grounded, which I like. And I'm not saying that Goff is not grounded. I don't think Joe Burrow's grounded. But I'm not saying Goff isn't grounded. I think he is. I think they're just different personalities.
Yeah, I think
Goff is married to a supermodel, by the way.
Which is, I'm very interested to watch the Jared Goff side of things, because even cheering for a team that's in the division that's played against him, I feel like I don't know him well. Like, I feel like I would have categorized him as kind of boring, honestly. Like, I would have been like, nah, like, you don't really, I never felt like I saw a whole lot out of Jared Goff when it came, like, during the game, on the sideline. It was just kind of, he'd do his thing, and then you'd walk over, you'd see a smile every now and then. So I like being able to get to know guys aside from that, because sometimes there's a lot of personality that you didn't know was there because it gets hidden by maybe some other personalities on the team. There's guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown who probably takes over a lot of that attention when it comes to the Lions. And then you had coaches like Dan Campbell who takes a lot of that attention away too. So it will be fascinating to kind of get the look at Jared Goff of what he is, aside from just being like that quarterback that got traded from the Rams to the Lions.
Yeah, I think there's 7 total episodes. So like I said, I'm one in. I'm excited to hear what you think after watching it. All right, let's get it to our ranking of the divisions by running back. So we've done quarterback, we've done wide receiver. Now we're moving on to running back. I think, Taylor, for me, this exercise was interesting because the top running backs in all of the league, their divisions do not keep up with their talent. Yeah. So a guy
I kind of felt similar as I was going, which is tricky because then you're like, okay, well, you have, if you're naming the 2 best running backs, you'd say Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley right now. And then when you start looking at the rest of those divisions, you kind of are like, oh, wait, but how much do you weigh those in these situations?
Right.
And then,
with quarterbacks, I think I weigh the top tier more. Like the Patrick Mahomes is going to pull up those around him potentially more. And in running backs, I didn't feel like that.
Yeah. And it is funny, too, because we had this conversation when we were ranking the wide receivers, and it's similar for me for the running backs, where it feels like outside of one outlier in the running back group and one outlier in my wide receiver group, the AFC quarterbacks were like bam, 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 bam for us. And then for me, the wide receivers and running backs in the NFC are the ones that kind of shine brighter than what the AFC ones. So it's funny because the AFC has all these quarterbacks, but the NFC is stacked with everything else that you need on your offense.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I have my first 3 are NFC teams.
Okay.
And then I do have an AFC team, and then the final NFC team I do have lower. But so I'll tell you, I have the NFC South as the best division in all of the NFL when it comes to running backs. Falcons, Bijan Robinson. Panthers, Chuba Hubbard. Saints, Alvin Kamara. Bucks, Bucky Irving. I mainly went with the starting running backs, or the featured running backs, I should say. Of course, some teams, it is going to be more split. For instance, teams, especially that just drafted a running back that they expect to be carrying a heavy portion of the load. But I went mainly judging on the featured back. So I've got the NFC South as the best, and I'm going to guess that you have the NFC North as the highest. No,
I
think this is the second time
that's
I've done
close
that.
though. I have them NFC North as my second.
Okay, me too.
AFC South is my first, actually.
What?
Yeah.
I am shocked.
Love Joe Mixon. I love Tony Pollard. I love Jonathan Taylor. The Jaguars one is what's a little more tricky for me, but I've been so vocal about how I think that the scheme and everything that's going to happen. I think we've seen that Etienne can be one of the best running backs in the league. He's already done it in one of his in that sophomore year. And I think that last year we had a whole conversation yesterday of Tank Bigsby and what he could do in this and how good he is at forcing those missed tackles. We will see what the Bashal Tootin looks like, but right now it looks like you have another guy that's able to pass catch and break tackles and force missed tackles and be able to, like, the vision and all of that type of thing. So that room, to me, of them, it's probably like the lower one as the whole. But I think Nick Chubb, again, we will see from that injury, but from what we're hearing, it looks like he's healthy and it looks like he's going to be ready to go. And if you have 80% Nick Chubb mixed with Joe Mixon in one group, and then you have Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL, I'm also very high on Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert is also one of the best at forcing missed tackles and getting those yards after contact too. And now that's their backup in Indy. And then Tony Pollard, to me, is one of the better running backs in the league too. I like Tyjae Spears. So to me, it was every single team had 2 that I was like, okay, every single team has 2 running backs that I like, and then have 3 in that division that I would put towards the top of the NFL right now. And if Etienne can get back to that, then he's included in that, or if Tank takes that next step. So it was hard for me to not put AFC South just because I was naming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running backs that I would like to have.
I thought at the end of the exercise, the AFC South would be higher than they ended up on mine. So we'll get to where they are on mine in a little bit. But we both have the NFC North second. I think you could argue that this also might be the best. But yeah, it was neck and neck for me between NFC South and NFC North. So the Lions, of course, have both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. The Bears have DeAndre Swift. The Packers have Josh Jacobs. The Vikings, Aaron Jones. You're talking about a division that you have to game plan for all of those guys. And I would say, no offense to the Bears, but I would say DeAndre Swift is probably the worst of that worst of that group. And he's still
1,000-yard running back.
Exactly.
Yeah, with a very bad offensive scheme and run game last year. And so that's what a lot of people, I think, kind of throw DeAndre Swift. He was just shy of it. But the Bears had one of the third fewest rushing yards as a team last year. So it definitely was something that I think accounted in addition to the run blocking, obviously. But DeAndre Swift the season before was he broke 1,000 yards. Everyone was talking about him being like this one of the better backs in the league. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, even Jordan Mason. The Vikings went and got Jordan Mason, who when Christian McCaffrey went out, stepped in, and you felt like there was not even hardly a drop-off. Christian McCaffrey's a whole different creature because he adds the pass game and all of the other elements to it. Not saying Jordan Mason can't, but nobody can really do it to the level that Christian McCaffrey can. But it still came in, and they were still able to run the ball the way that you wouldn't have even been like, oh, they just lost their starting running back who was one of the best in the league. And so I think that's a big one for them too. And then, the Lions having Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, it's just the perfect 1-2 punch to have as a running back room. And so, I also have them as number 2 for me.
All right. We will continue our rankings of the division by running back. On the other side, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Tom McManus straps on the helmet and joins Lauren Brooks and Taylor Dahl for the new Helmets and Heels. New attitude, new time. Afternoons 2 to 4 on 1010XL. Tommy Mack makes his Helmets and Heels debut July 14th.
From humble origins on Beach Boulevard to the grandeur of the old homestead, Taco has bucked the odds, selling cheap tacos and even cheaper beers since 2008. I'll be the first to lament that nothing is cheap anymore, but much has not changed in 17 years. Bangin' Shrimp still rocks, margaritas flow day and night, and we love to see old friends and make new friends every day. You can still spin the wheel or sit outside on the patio in the sun with friends and family. It's been a ton of fun, and we have you, Jacksonville, to thank for 17 years. Taco Lou in Jacksonville Beach.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local woman-owned solar company. Did you hear? JEA is raising rates again. With summer right around the corner, those power bills are only going to go up. But with solar, you can take control of energy costs and say goodbye to rising rates. At Clay Solar, we make switching easy and affordable. Stop paying more for power and own it. Visit claysolar.com to schedule a consultation today.
Get ready. The Jacksonville Rock Orchestra brings to life the magic of Fleetwood Mac. Like you've never heard it before. A 27-piece symphony fused with a full rock band, performing timeless hits like Rhiannon, Dreams, and You Make Loving Fun. One night only, July 11th at the historic Florida Theater. Get tickets today at floridatheater.com.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Right now, you may be running a little late, or feeling stressed, or overwhelmed, and you may be going a bit over the speed limit. So to help you relax, exhale. Ease up on the gas. You'll get there when you get there. Take a moment to just chill. This little break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Frank Frangie
Frangie here for Coil Fencing. Jacksonville's full of memorable sports moments. Remember Tiger Woods' 60-foot putt on the iconic 17th? Gary Coate called it better than most. Better than most. Well, Coil Fencing is better than most. They're better than all. Coil has been that for nearly 100 years. So if you're in the market for a new fence, I recommend calling Coil & Sons today. That's at 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt? You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. That's Loan Pronto. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and have nearly 2,500 five-star Google reviews. Call now and start the conversation. Go to loanpronto.com or call 999-1508. That's loanpronto.com.
Are you an experienced chiller technician and looking for a role where your skills are truly valued? It's time to make the move to Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. You'll get top pay, comprehensive health and welfare benefits for your family, and a pension that doesn't come out of your pocket. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer. Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. I had $1 million, but I'd spend it all if I could find that.
RJ Saunders, Taylor Dahl, I'm Lauren Brooks with you. RJ pumping out some Sublime for you on this Tuesday afternoon. We are ranking the divisions in the NFL by running back. Taylor Dahl has the AFC South number 1, the NFC North number 2. I have the NFC South number 1 and the NFC North also number 2. Taylor, who do you have ranked third?
So my number 3 is the NFC South.
Okay.
Similar reasons to you. Obviously Bucky Irving in his breakout season last year. Bijan Robinson, I think, is going to be one of the running backs we're talking about for a very long time.
Yeah, over 1,400 yards last year for him.
Chuba Hubbard is, I think, underrated almost at times. And I have an interesting little stat that I'll read on a side note of that. But Chuba Hubbard, I think, should be probably talked about more than what he is. And then Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is so interesting because when it comes to like pure running back, I don't think I would list him as that. But his ability of what he's able to do and being able to receive and what he can do in the backfield and stuff like that, I think helps. And so, and every year I feel like he has one game where you're just like, it's like 7 touchdowns or like he just doesn't stop scoring, and that's what kind of ups him.
I feel like fantasy people are obsessed with Alvin Kamara.
Oh yeah, because he's constant. You get both. You get the points, correct, the PPR points. You're getting the touchdowns. You're getting all of that, and so he's definitely one of the guys that you want on your fantasy team. And so the reason that they were third for me though is because the guys behind them are very. It's kind of like there's some guys there that I like. I don't love any of the ones that sit behind those 4, but those 4 I think most teams would benefit from having on their team.
I have number 3, the NFC West, led, of course, by 49ers Christian McCaffrey. And then some guys that I think are, to your point, underrated a little bit. Cardinals, James Conner, Rams, Kyron Williams, and then the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
When you look at top 25 running backs as far as yards, they're all in there for last season. And I do think that Christian McCaffrey, yes, obviously went through the injuries last season. And throughout his career, he's had to deal with stuff injury-wise. But if you're talking about other than Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry for what they did last year, I think the next best running back in all of the league is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Yes, he can.
You have to stay healthy, and that's been one of his issues.
Yeah.
But we're like excluding that. We're just talking about them being running backs.
If you're talking about running between the tackles, he can do that. If you're talking about spreading out wide and pass catching out of the backfield, he can absolutely do that. He is such a weapon. So to me, he lifts that division, but also I do think a guy like a Kyron Williams with the Rams is somebody that I think he'd be the featured back on this team.
Yeah, I love Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
Love Kyron Williams. I think that, to your point, I think James Conner, I think James Conner is also one of the better running backs in the league that I think gets washed out a little bit because of what Arizona has been recently. And even you go to 2 years ago, he had over 1,000 yards and he missed, I think he only played 13 games. So he missed 4 games and still broke 1,000 yards. And so James Conner is one of those guys that is a running back. And I love that. I love having those true guys that you feel like can do the up the middle stuff, but then can also jump on the perimeter when you need to, take off running. If you see green, James Conner can also be gone. Not saying he's like the fastest, but he has that vision for a running back. And I love him for that. And then, it's Christian McCaffrey. So I also do have the NFC West as my 4th too.
As your 4th. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Kyron Williams, by the way, last season, almost 1,300
He's so good.
yards and 14 touchdowns. So when I say I think he'd be the featured back if he was in Jacksonville, I'm just going to tell you right now, he would be the featured back in Jacksonville.
It is funny because I feel like people kind of gave up on him quickly. I want to say there were like a little bit of worries initially that first year because he had like 139 yards, but he wasn't obviously the starting back. He played in 10 games, but didn't start in any. But then the next year he had 1,100, and then last year just shy of, he had 1,299. So he's just one of those guys that it took maybe a year to really get going and to shine. But once he did, you were like, oh, okay, he can be one of the top backs in the league. And I honestly think he will be.
And I love James Conner, for people who don't remember, back when he was in college, was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was able to overcome that. And so I love that part of his story. So I have the NFC West 3rd. So my 4th division is the AFC East. The Bills, James Cook, Dolphins, Devon Achane. Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, also Travion Henderson, who they just drafted from Ohio State. So we'll see what that balance looks like. And then the Jets, Breece Hall. I love Devon Achane and his speed. James Cook, I think the Bills absolutely have to figure out a contract extension for him, because that offense, while yes, Josh Allen is a mobile quarterback and all that, you still absolutely 100% need James Cook to get you the over 1,000 yards that he had last season, to take some of that off of Josh Allen. That's what we talked about for so long, and we talk about it here with Trevor Lawrence. If you can run the football, you take some of the pressure off of the quarterback, and certain quarterbacks can step up into that type of pressure that's expected, and other quarterbacks need the assistance from the run game. I think that greatly helped Baker Mayfield last year, and it certainly, I think, has helped Josh Allen. And that way, he also has limited his turnovers, especially fumbles, because he's not the one asked to run the football as much. So, I've got AFC East 4th. All right, so who do you have 5th?
So my 5th is AFC East. So it's funny because it pretty
similar.
much seems like I put AFC South 1, and then like yours just got bumped down.
And I have AFC South 5th. So that's the one division that we have completely different thoughts on.
Yeah, and similar. I think that the AFC East, James Cook, you just saw the value he added immediately to the run game, and when they were able to actually run the ball. Breece Hall, I don't love Breece Hall. I think he has a lot of potential. I feel like there's just untapped potential in Breece Hall, and maybe that is the kind of disaster that the Jets have been also.
Think so.
And so maybe having a quarterback in there, we will see, but that can navigate a little bit in the balance of the run game and the pass game can maybe even out a little bit, because I just don't know if they've had that. It's either like forcing the pass too much or having to run too much to where it becomes predictable. And so it'll be interesting to see because I do feel like there's something in there for him to be a really good running back. I just don't know if he's been able to fully unleash all of that. Yeah, I love Devon Achane. He's like one of my favorite too. And he's one of the guys I remember a couple years ago where he was on the path of being like, everyone was like, wow, this guy's going to be phenomenal. And he was breaking record after record a few weeks in a row of different things. And that kind of, because again, Miami, once you get into that world where things start to become a little bit dysfunctional, and some of that is too, and not being able to stay healthy, and they have to shift the whole game plan, and that's obviously not what you would like to do. But when he's on his game in that offense, he's very dangerous. I don't love the Patriots room, and that's probably why I put them further down on mine. I guess, what are they, 5th on mine? And that's probably why they're 5th of the 8, because of that room kind of lowers the rest for them, and then maybe the unpredictability of Breece Hall.
Yeah, and for me, the AFC South does come in number 5. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best backs in all of the league. Certainly, if not top 5, he's top 10.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. He can do it all, too. The Texans, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, they're both really good, to your point earlier, if Nick Chubb is healthy. But Joe Mixon consistently is again, one of the better backs in the league. But I drop it down a little bit between the Jaguars running back situation because I'm not sure how it's going to shake out. If I knew right now who the featured back would be, then I could have more confidence in what that's going to look like. But to me, it's still up for grabs. It could be one of 3 different guys, whether it's Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, or certainly the rookie Bashal Tutin. And then for me, I like Tony Pollard for the Titans, but Tony Pollard is with an offense that is one of the worst in the league. So while I probably shouldn't knock him for that, he did have over 1,000 yards last year, and we know they couldn't throw the football.
Yeah, he's had 3 straight years of over 1,000 yards.
He has, yeah. And I know you like him a lot. He doesn't scare me. Spears, I think, almost scares me a little bit more than Pollard does, just as far as the burst and things like that. All right, we have 3 more divisions to go. Number 6, number 7, number 8. We will get to that on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Step into the 1010XL Hall of Sports.
One word. Awesome. This room is awesome.
1010XL, where sports come to life.
Ready to add some value to your day? The everyday deals at Sonny's have got you covered. Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, all you can eat ribs for $19.99, and our new loaded barbecue potato for $11. Available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? You have questions? Call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 8, 1982, Yankees manager Billy Martin gets his 1,000th career win.
Hi, I'm
Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
E.T. here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, you have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits. You have the right to choose your own doctor, too. And I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation, the auto accident experts.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Summertime is busy with graduation parties, summer barbecues, festivities, family gatherings. The month of July, National Carpet Cleaning Month. So Zero Res is offering $45 per room of carpet clean and 20% off air duct cleaning services as well. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call them 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spelled backwards or forwards, it's spelled the same. Zero Res.
Zero Res.
Hacker here, and guess what my scale reads? 195 pounds. I'm shocked seeing that number, but it's there every month. The weight is staying off after dropping 122 pounds. Absolutely life-changing. Awaken180weightloss.com.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet? What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now, with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso spine and joint pain specialists.
Football season is almost here, so before it arrives, I'm going to get my home organized. Lauren Brooks here. Closets by Design creates custom storage for every space, lifestyle, and budget. From closets to garages to laundry rooms or entertainment centers, anywhere that needs to be organized. Call today to schedule a free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off with free installation. Yes, that's 40% off plus an additional 15% off during the month of July. Call 878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Let's go, girls.
Taylor Doll, I have a question for you. Thank you, RJ Saunders, for playing the lovely and talented Shania Twain. Do you think Tom McManus likes Shania Twain as much as you and I do?
I feel like Tom McManus can get down with pretty much anything, honestly. I was seeing the pictures from his weekend in Chicago, and he looked like he had a lot of fun up there. So I feel like he'd have a lot of fun pretty much listening to anything.
Did he give Chicago a kiss and a hug for you?
Yeah, I did ask him to, so I hope he did. I'll ask him. I haven't got to talk to him yet since he got back, but I was like, tell her I love her.
Well, there's, of course, a reason that I'm asking Taylor if she thinks Tom will jam out to Shania Twain with us. We're going to play some Shania Twain for you every single day until the two different Shania Twain concerts at Daly's Place that come up later this month, Tuesday, July 29th, Wednesday, July 30th. Taylor and I are super excited to see Shania here in concert.
You have your outfit.
I don't have my outfit yet, okay. but I feel like since we're going to go to the concert, we need to get Tom and his wife tickets to come to the concert.
That would be a blast,
too.
actually.
Because in case you didn't hear the news, Tom McManus is joining Helmets and Heels starting this Monday.
Yes, we are very excited about that. I think that, Tom Tommy's fantastic. You and I both have hosted shows with Tommy previously, so we know the familiarity side of it. But Tommy's great. We'll have some new music to throw into our vibe of the show, which will be fun because I know his is a little heavy too. So there'll be a double heavy music on Helmets and Heels sometimes, which I love that.
Yeah, and we will be 2 to 4. XL Primetime
Yes.
moving back to noon to 2. So you'll catch the boys, Josie, Matt, and Leon, noon to 2, along with JJ. And then RJ, Taylor, Tom, and I will be 2 to 4. And then the other programming all stays the same. So for people who don't like changes, relax. It's very minimal changes. But we did want to make that announcement. All right, let's finish our rankings of the divisions according to which running backs are the absolute best in each division. All right, so I'm going to run back through. I have the NFC South 1, the NFC North 2, the NFC West 3, the AFC East 4, and the AFC South 5. So your Jacksonville Jaguars division, I have it 5th. I have the AFC West 6, Taylor, with a couple running backs that could, I think, completely change where I have this division if we were to rank them next year because of the rookie aspect. The Raiders, Ashton Genty. The Chargers drafted Omarion Hampton. They also have now Najee Harris. You've got the Broncos with J.K. Dobbins, and then they drafted R.J. Harvey, and then the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco. So I have them lower because of there are obviously some unknowns with that many rookies in one group.
Yeah.
But like I said, a year from now, Ashton Genty may be a top 5 running back. People are really excited about R.J. Harvey there with Denver, and splitting carries with J.K. Dobbins will certainly help their rushing attack. So again, this division is lower for me at 6th, but it could be a lot higher in a year.
Yeah. So I also realized I messed mine up. Something skipped down. I was wondering because I was like, I had the AFC East lower than what I thought. And when I said 5th, I was like, that doesn't feel like what I did. Okay, so I'm going to just back up. So AFC South, NFC North, NFC South, NFC West. I did have those as my top 4. But my 5th, I had the NFC East. And that's with obviously Saquon Barkley, Brian Robinson, Javonte Williams, Tyrone Tracy. I think that when it's a little bit of underwhelming when it comes to names, but when you go back outside of Saquon, obviously, but when you go and you look at their run games and the production of last year, all of these guys were towards the top in certain categories when it comes to the run game. And Brian Robinson, I think that we've talked about the last few years of can he have this, this true breakout season, and he's had his moments, and it just feels like it's right there. I feel like the Cowboys have to be talked about as one of the biggest, like, what happened to their run games, because you have Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard one time in your group, and now you have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. But I still think that he is a good back, and I think the Cowboys have always kind of figured out how to make those run game, the running back, the run game work in general. And then Tyrone Tracy, I actually really like. I don't know if people even know that much about him because you lose Saquon Barkley in New York, and it's you feel like you're losing so much. But I do like Tyrone Tracy, and so to me, I think because of Saquon Barkley upping it, and those other guys, I just feel like have so much potential in those rooms. I did have them as 5th, so the NFC East was behind that as 5th for me. Then I had the AFC North, and I had as 6th. So the 6th for me, I had the AFC North. Derrick Henry, again, I think because when I said earlier, how much do you weigh having the 2 best running backs in that group and in the NFL, and Saquon in the NFC East, and then Derrick Henry in the AFC North. And so Derrick Henry, Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson is an interesting dynamic. I think that by the end of the season, Caleb Johnson is going to be starting in Pittsburgh, and I think that he's going to be actually a pretty good back. I think he fits so well with what they do, with the type of running back that works in Pittsburgh too, and what Mike Tomlin likes to do. I really like Chase Brown. I don't think people talk enough about Chase Brown with the Bengals. They have to fix that offensive line, and so I'm trying to seclude that because I feel like if they were able to fix that run blocking a little bit, then he would be a top running back in the NFL. He's still, to me, I think he was just shy of 1,000 yards this season, behind the worst offensive run blocking group. And then the Browns, when it comes to Jerome Ford, it's not like I'm crazy high with him, but I do like Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. So I think they add so much to that running back room. And rather than having to be one guy, like Nick Chubb doing everything, they have 3 guys where they can kind of spread it and use different strengths between the different types of backs there. So AFC North was my 6.
Chase Brown came up just 10 yards short of 1,000 yards.
I knew he was like right there.
So frustrating.
Did he miss a game?
Yes, he did. He missed a game, or they held him out of a game. But yeah, in case you were wondering, there were 16 backs in the NFL that had over 1,000 yards. And then, like I said, Chase Brown was just 10 yards short.
Just shy of it,
and it's several guys in the 900s. And then of course, from there. All right, so I will wrap things up with mine. I had, again, the AFC West at 6, and then I had the NFC East. You just ran through all of them. I have the NFC East at 7. You mentioned it as I was going through it. I was like, I literally cannot believe that this is the Cowboys' run game situation.
Yeah, it's
like,
wild.
And the fact, to your point, that Saquon Barkley at one point in time is in New York, and Tyron Tracy is pretty good, but that's still, you had Saquon Barkley.
I know.
And you traded him within the division. That's insane to me. But the Cowboys, I feel like they must think that they know something that we don't know, because they always have the perennial 1,000-yard running backs.
Yeah, and that's what's so weird. I guess that is the confidence of just being able to consistently run the ball. And I think that they know that when Dak Prescott is on his game, that he's able to obviously spread the ball out and do all of these things. And people that you feel like the run game doesn't have to happen. And so in years, it's kind of been like the run game was an afterthought, even with an Ezekiel Elliott. But because he was so good, there was just this double-headed monster that you had to face all the time between the two. And so I think they have the confidence that can still continue. But we will see. It's definitely a downgrade, but I still think like the NFC East as a whole, to me, I feel like because of Saquon, it just drags everything out of the dirt. And then I do think Brian Robinson is better than what people give him credit for.
Yeah, and he's gone through stuff off the field as well and was able to rebound. And then finally, I have the AFC North. Yes, it has Derrick Henry, but again, just because you have a top tier running back in a division doesn't mean that the rest of the division is all that good. So the Steelers, like you mentioned, Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson will be splitting carries, at least at the beginning. The Browns have Jerome Ford, and then they drafted Quinshon Judkins, who is, I think, super talented. Fascinating to me that he left Ole Miss to go to Ohio State. Yeah. He did win the national championship, but had to split carries with Trevion Henderson, and instead of getting the bulk of carries like he did at Ole Miss. But I guess it ended up working out for him. And then, like you talked about, Chase Brown getting close to 1,000 yards with the Bengals. As we look at it in totality, every single division has a star running back.
Yeah.
And 3 years ago, I feel like we were trending in the complete opposite direction as far as the running backs still being stars on teams, and they weren't getting
felt
paid.
like they were getting lost.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And it shifted back a little bit, which is good, because I used to joke, like, there's that country song, Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, and I would say, Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be running backs.
Yeah.
Because they weren't getting, even though they get used and abused, after 3 years, they were basically being discarded, or they weren't getting paid as highly as they should have been. And so we finally have seen a little bit of a course correction for that.
Yeah, and I think my last two, I had 7-8. So that's what's funny is the AFC East is actually 7th on mine. As I was reading it earlier, I was like, my reasonings for this aren't matching up with them being 5th. Why did this happen? Because to me, and I said the Patriots running back room is very underwhelming for me. I like Achane, but I don't like anybody behind that. Brees, I think, is good, but they haven't been able to run the ball, so I don't know if you've really seen him fully, and I like James Cook. So I was like, why am I going through all the reasonings of why they're not that good and have them at 5? So they're actually 7 on my list, and my last is AFC West. But with the potential that they could be. RJ Harvey is one of my favorite backs drafted out of this outside of Ashton Genty, probably my favorite back drafted out of Ashton Genty in this NFL draft. And I think the Broncos have the second best offensive line in the NFL. And so I think that's going to help him and kind of give him such a way to be able to succeed pretty quickly and not have to worry about doing too much. And then it's Ashton Genty. So I could see the AFC West, who's last on my list right now, being in the top 3 by the end of the season if those two guys stand out.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right now it is time for Taylor Dahl's Tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
So actually keeping in kind of the same mindset and talking about, but this one shifting a little bit to the offensive lines. And I told you I wanted to share a note too, that a kind of interesting note about the running backs though. So I want to do that before I get to this. So it was talking about the most successful running backs. This is since 2021. And this is kind of like a fantasy measure, but they said it links also to, because it's like fantasy opportunity and points, but linking to the top running backs since 2021. And so there's this correlation that happened between those two things. But number 1 was Christian McCaffrey. Number 2 was Clint Kubiak's RB1. So I think it was just funny how that works, but that also is like, oh, that's why Washington was able to do what Washington was able to do this year, because wherever Clint goes and whoever is at running back is able to find success, and it literally just says whoever his RB1 is. And then Alvin Kamara was 3, Joe Mixon was 4, Josh Jacobs was 5, and then 6 was Dave Canales' RB1. So it was funny to me how we have these group of backs, but then we have these offensive coordinators or head coaches, whatever they are at that time, that are able to find success in whatever guy is carrying the ball at the time. And
So
I
Kenneth
think
Walker should be excited because he's the Seahawks running back,
Yes,
and Kubiak is their OC.
prime spot for him to be in right now. But that was just a little side note. But I saw something earlier, and it was talking about, so they did the offensive line composite rankings from 4 different sources. So we're seeing all of these sources come out. PFF just dropped theirs yesterday, and it's their rankings of the offensive line. So this specific person took 4 different ones and kind of made a composite ranking for all of them. So a few notes off of this, though, is that when it comes to the best in the NFL right now, the Eagles and Broncos are consensus 1 and 2 in every single. So in all 4 of these rankings, it was Eagles and Broncos at 1 and 2. The consensus worse in all 4 of these was the Houston Texans. So I think we like to hear that the Houston Texans did not fix their offensive line, because, Lauren, to our point yesterday of if it comes down to C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence, those offensive lines are going to be a massive part in that conversation. A few other things that next tier down from them is the Bucks, Lions, Vikings, and Bills. I think most people, those are probably the 4 teams that, if you had to list, would be that. The next grouping after that it's interchangeable between those, because what they do, and they even show like lines. Okay, here's the minimum of where they were ranked in one of the 4 articles, and here's the max of what they were ranked in those 4 articles. So it's super cool. I'll retweet it also, so if anybody wants to go and kind of look at the breakdown of it. But the next group is interchangeable between those spots, but it's the Chargers and the Falcons, and people kind of have, Chargers first, then Falcons, or Falcons then Chargers, and those kind of go back and forth. Next behind that, you have the Bears, Ravens, and Rams. And then the Colts have the biggest discrepancy, though, on this. Some people have them like in the 20th range, and some have them down in like the 5th in the league range. So that one's going to be fascinating to kind of look through. When you go to the why, the PFF reasoning, they have the Colts at 5th. And they said the Colts lost Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze as he went to the Vikings in free agency, but this is still among the best offensive lines in the league. Indianapolis may be home to the top left tackle guard pairing in the NFL. Quentin Nelson, obviously, having the highest PFF overall grade for among guards last year. And then left tackle Bernard Raymond's 85 mark was placed 8th at his position. So they still have 2 of the better at their position. So I think that is outweighing maybe some of the losses. But it will be interesting, because some people have them ranked 20th. So where they end up falling this year will be very interesting. But when it comes back to the Jaguars, because obviously that's what we want to hear here, they have the Jaguars anywhere between 20 and 24. That's their range right now when it comes to these 4 consensus that they have. The PFF rankings specifically have the Jacksonville Jaguars at, I'm trying to remember where exactly they were, because they were 26th on theirs, and they said the best possible outcome for the Jaguars' offensive line in 2025 is probably to be average. None of their 5 projected starters finished among the 30 highest graded players at their position in 2024. Former first-round Anton Harrison made some regression last year, so you would hope you see the 2023 Anton Harrison leading to, and they talk about his PFF grade, which was last year still 50th among month offensive tackles, but the Jaguars will need more than the right tackle in 2025. So I think that's kind of where I've been this offseason. I feel like they didn't do enough to actually improve. We will see, because some of these guys could surprise you. But
to I feel like make a quick note on that. The offensive line, yes, it's 5 individual positions, but how they play together is also incredibly important.
Yeah.
And so there have been a lot of changes with this offensive line. And so it may take them a little while to get to where they have that excellent communication, and they all, are kind of pulling in the same direction without having to have issues along the way. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars offensive line maybe isn't as great maybe the first month of the season, and then it progresses and it gets better. But I just want to, for people who aren't as familiar with how that kind of stuff works, like you want the offensive line to gel. And so certainly this time of year, once training camp begins, that's really important for the offensive line. Everyone always talks about, well, the quarterback and the receivers, need to have that chemistry, and the tight ends, of course, too, if they're pass catching tight ends, like they need to be working in the offseason, and the quarterback's got to be throwing to the receivers. And it's like, okay, and I want the offensive line to go bowling together and to go fishing together and all that stuff, and have dinners together, so that way they have that cohesive unit. But no one's going to grade the Jaguars offensive line right now anywhere near the top half of the league.
Yeah. They do have some at the top that have made a lot of changes. Like they have the Bears obviously at 4th on this, and they have all 3 new interior pieces also. But I think that's just, nobody loves the additions. That they think they made okay changes to what it is. I don't know if they feel like it's true improvements. That could change because, to your point, maybe former stops just weren't where they were meshing. Obviously Hainsey got benched by Liam Cohen down in Tampa, so maybe this spot is better. Maybe he hit, that when you talk about gelling with the offensive line, maybe that changes a little bit here. But when it comes to the end too, it was interesting where I was like, some of these teams. So I'll go to, because the Tennessee Titans, they had it 24th, so just a couple spots above the Jaguars. So it was the Colts at, where did I have it, 5th, and then the Tennessee Titans at 4th, and they said the Titans fielded arguably the worst. 24th, yeah. Okay. The Titans fielded arguably the worst offensive line in football 2 years ago, but are inching closer to an average unit. Tennessee used back-to-back first-round picks on Peter Skoronski and then J.C. Latham, and added center Lloyd Cushenberry, offensive tackle Dan Moore Jr., and guard Kevin Zeitler in free agency. However, only Zeitler has played at a high level recently over an entire season. He ranked 3rd amongst all guards overall grade last season. The rest of the offensive line will need to step up for the Titans offense to make some noise with a rookie
35, Kevin Zeitler. Because I was gonna say he's been in the league a long time.
Yeah, he has. He's still good. He's like one of the better ones. That's one of the people that I kind of wish that the Jags went after this last season. But then beyond that the bottom ranked ones are the Dolphins, the Jags, the Browns, the Giants, the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Bengals, and the Texans. So it is going to be one of the fascinating ones is the Seattle Seahawks, because the Seattle Seahawks have the 30th ranked offensive line, and they added Gray Zabel, obviously, so we'll see how much that kind of changes into things. But Sam Darnold's going from a top 2-3 offensive line to a bottom 30 offensive line. How much does that change how Sam Darnold has looked this last couple years? So that'll be interesting to look at. Cincinnati Bengals once again are just leaving Joe Burrow high and dry, just trying to figure out it on his own, because again, they have the 31st ranked offensive line.
And like you said, the Texans
are last. And it just says the presence of veterans Larry Tunsil and Shaq Mason prevented an already shaky Texans offensive line from being even worse in 2024. And the team cut ties with both of those. Now there's very little to suggest that the group isn't deserving of the number 32 ranking ahead of the 2025 season.
Oof. Well, left tackle Cam Robinson. We know him
to the
well.
rescue.
Yeah. All right. We've got lunch to give away.
We do. Lunch to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 4, and you get free lunch to Chick-fil-A today.
There we go. Caller number 4. Our highlights are on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Here's another classic Florida Gator moment.
We got 30 minutes for the rest of our life. 30 minutes. We're going to hit somebody, and we're taking it down the field for a touchdown. I guarantee you that. Let's go. Let's go.
1010XL, home of the Florida Gators.
What do the letters AM and FM stand for?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
In radio lingo, AM stands for amplitude modulation. FM stands for frequency modulation.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When cockroaches move into your home or business, you want them out fast. At Terminix, they don't just get rid of the roaches, they evict them, and they work to prevent them from coming back. Because no one likes an uninvited pest. When cockroaches show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a cockroach problem. I certainly don't. Terminix them. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Your home is more tthan walls and a roof. It's where you breathe, drink, and power through life. At Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to keep it all running smoothly. From clean, cool air to clean water, reliable power to expert plumbing, we do it all. For over 35 years, families have trusted Donovan to make their homes healthier, safer, and more comfortable. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing today, 904-270-COOL, where health meets home.
It's Christmas in July at Beard's Diamonds with as much as 40% off everything in the store. Maybe it's time to treat yourself to a fabulous fashion ring, necklace, or bracelet. You can do it now and save as much as 40% off Beard's already unbeatable prices. And don't forget, Beard's is the town center's locally owned diamond superstore. Don't settle for the corporate chain store experience when you can get the value, service, and attention you deserve. Don't miss Christmas in July. Save up to 40% exclusively at Beard's Diamonds at the St. John's Town Center.
The Combine, free agency, the draft.
We're professionals. We have a job to do, a season to plan.
Follow the road to the regular season with AA Automotive on Richard Street. Family run since 1954 and 1010XL.
Coming soon, Pine Royale, a fully illuminated synthetic par 3 course built for day or night play. Plus a driving range with TrackMan Tech for virtual courses and interactive games. Mini golf, restaurant, and bar all in one place. Whether you're a serious golfer or just here for good vibes and great food, Pine Royale brings fun non-stop. Smash a burger, a bucket of balls, and even a night round under the lights. Grab your clubs, your crew, and your short game. Pine Royale is coming soon off I-295. Learn more at pineroyale.cc.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Get ready. The Jacksonville Rock Orchestra brings to life the magic of Fleetwood Mac. Like you've never heard it before. A 27-piece symphony fused with a full rock band, performing timeless hits like Rhiannon, Dreams, and You Make Loving Fun. One night only, July 11th at the historic Florida Theater. Get tickets today at floridatheater.com.
Brian Wall here. Would you take your paycheck, go to the bank, cash it, and then simply throw it up in the air? I didn't think so. But in a way, over the years, that is exactly what you're doing if you have old or builder-grade windows in your home. Even if you have a brand new home, those windows are not the best windows you can have to save on your energy bills. Window World has sold millions of replacement windows to homeowners like you, and Window World's customer satisfaction is the highest in the business. Please check Window World out yourself and save on your new windows and on your energy bills. Compare with other companies and you'll see Window World is simply the best for less. It's up to you. You can call Window World and get a free estimate, get the best guarantee in the window replacement business, save money on your new windows, and save more on your energy bills. Call Window World today at 904-443-7001 or go online to windowworldneflorida.com. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors. Brackish Vodka, the spirit of the sportsman and proud partner of the Jaguars, wants to make your flight in and out of Jax a fun one. Stop by Vino Volo in the airport and enjoy 2 signature Brackish cocktails. Vino Volo has amazing food and cocktails before your flight. Brackish Vodka is the first clean craft vodka and made right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Brackish Vodka for whatever your sport is. If your sport is flying, your vodka is Brackish, proud partner of the Jaguars.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Hey, it's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's. It's local, family-owned, and they've been part of our community since 1926. They've taken great care of me over the years, and I know they'll do the same for you. Visit leeandkatesglass.com.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
At Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach, you just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it, come see us.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL.
This update brought to you by Clay Solar Installation Partners. Paolo Banchero has checked a lot of boxes since joining the Orlando Magic, such as winning the Rookie of the Year award, becoming an all-star, helping this team to the playoffs twice, and now the Magic are betting on there being much, much more, as Banchero has agreed to the richest contract in franchise history, a 5-year extension worth $239 million. He finished the season averaging 25.9 points per contest to go along with 7.5 rebounds, both career highs for Banchero. He also led the Magic to the playoffs for the second consecutive season, looking to do it a third time in a row in the Magic's next campaign. Right now, 90 degrees at 12:59. Time and 10, brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl is here. RJ Saunders is here. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Tuesday afternoon. And Tuesdays mean highlights time. RJ, hit it.
Now, here's highlights. Unbelievable! On 1010XL.
The Los Angeles Lakers have a good Cole Swider problem on their hands.
Play LA can get cooked up here. We've got 9 on the shot clock, and it's Swider behind the line. He's been on fire all day.
Seiya Suzuki shows yet again why he was snubbed from the All-Star lineup.
How about a late entry into the home run contest, too? Okay. He gets named. Yep. And will participate. I'm down. Here we go.
Smokes this one to right center. And it is gone! We are down. Seiya Suzuki. Another homer, another RBI, and another reason to get him in the home run derby.
Jacksonville Jaguars defensive coordinator Anthony Campan ill lay Mike up at practice.
Once today I know I'm wearing a wire, I'll never be allowed to Italian American club again in New Jersey. That's it. That'll be it. I'll never be allowed back. Find out you're wearing a wire. That's all.
We've only just begun.
Our lovely robot had a hard time with that
She
last
can't say
name.
that.
Yeah, Jaguars defensive coordinator Anthony, I don't even know how she said it, but Campanile is how you actually say it. He was mic'd up at practice, one of the practices from this offseason and the offseason workouts, and basically he was saying he broke the mafia code because
That's so funny.
You definitely cannot wear a wire to anything because in the true mafia world, at least according to The Sopranos and all the other mafia movies I've seen in addition to that show, and he was mic'd up at practice, so therefore he's wearing the wire. And he's like, "Oh, I'd never be allowed in the Italian American club again if they find this out."
That was
I thought
honestly
really
kind of
funny.
hard for me to. His accent came out thick there. You played it yesterday, and I was like, "What did he just?"
He's probably laying it on thick too, like for the bit, you know. But I just think coaches who are very intense, which we know he is, he is definitely like the yeller screamer, very very vocal type of coach. But when they can also have a little humor, then everybody likes you even more.
Oh,
and I just thought that was really funny. If you haven't seen it, that was one of the clips that the Jaguars put out on Twitter yesterday as far as the behind the scenes film from the hunt.
Yeah, I think, and to your point, I think that you want a coach that feels serious, but that can also feel like he's having fun too. And there's been moments where we've had one or the other, you know, like you've had the very serious, tough coach that you felt like could never lighten up. And then you've had the super light coach where you feel like you needed to see something a little more out of him. And to have a combination of that with Coach Camp it's really fun. And I think that obviously we have to see it on the field. If in 4 weeks the defense sucks, then you're very frustrated with Coach Camp very quickly. But I do think that it happened with Ryan Nielsen very quickly, so it can happen with another defensive coordinator if it doesn't work out very quickly. But I do think that when it comes to personality, all of Ryan Nielsen's personality was his mustache, and it does feel like we have a little bit more from Coach Camp, and it's fun to it's a little different too. It's a different vibe than we've had here.
Josh Hines-Allen said recently about Coach Camp that he's a coach that you want to play for. And I was like, did everyone else hear what I heard as far as reading between the lines of he didn't want to play for the defensive coordinator prior? If the defense is terrible this year, Taylor, once again, then I don't necessarily blame Campanile. I blame the the player procurement to this point in time. And really this offseason, outside of a few moves, they didn't really address the defense that much. They didn't really, a lot of people expected the Jaguars to take a defensive tackle early, even if not at pick 5 early in the draft. They did certainly add Jordan Lewis there, and they drafted Jack Kaiser. But overall, if you go across the board as far as the starters are concerned, a lot of them are similar from last year. They did get rid of some pieces for sure. But again, they still didn't spend high draft capital on outside of, like I said, they drafted Jack Kaiser, and before that in the draft, they had added Caleb Ransaw. I'm just still not sure that he's going to be starting yet, since he is switching his position that he played at Tulane from corner to safety. So I don't know that they went kind of like chips all in. Like I feel like some people thought they might because of how bad the defense was last year. So again, I'm not going to necessarily say Coach Camp is the worst defensive coordinator. I'm going to say, some of these pieces aren't as good as what we thought.
It would be hard for me to not put some blame on him, because you have 2 of the best edge rushers in the league. You have Eric Armstead. So what's the problem? Like, if you move him back inside and you can't get what Eric Armstead was in the 49ers, to me, that's a coaching thing, or maybe it's towards the end of Eric Armstead. You have one of the better linebackers in the league with Foye Luke, and you have one of the better corners in the league with Tyson Campbell and now Jordan Lewis. So to me, you would be running out of excuses to not bring some if you have a bad defense. If it's not like, I'm not saying you have to be a top 5 defense. If you improve from last year, I think then you're showing, okay, you have the personnel to do it. It was the coaching. But if this still looks like a disaster and it looks like things aren't working, you have way too many good top pieces to not make something functional.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, to your point, maybe at this point in time, Eric Armstead is a guy that if he doesn't play well, now that he's moved back to his natural position, then he is, in the last legs of his career. And we knew that before he even came to Jacksonville, when he was coming here from San Francisco, he was injured at that point in time. Jordan Lewis, while I think he's going to be a fantastic nickel corner, he has been in the league for about 10 years now. And maybe Tyson Campbell, whether not necessarily injuries, but if he doesn't play well, if Travis Hunter's the best corner on this team,
and I didn't even mention Travis Hunter,
right? Then you missed, and you probably shouldn't have paid Tyson at that point in time. And I'm never the pessimistic one, but the defense was one of the worst in the league. So if they are again really bad, then you have missed on some of these players.
Yeah, to me, I think they were the worst in the league, a large part because of coaching. I think that's where my mind goes.
Sure.
Number 1. Number 2, you had a terrible corner outside of Tyson Campbell that's now gone. And I do think that no matter what, Monteric Brown or Jarian are going to be better than what Darby was, because he was a liability almost every single game. And I do think that now, year 2 of Mason Smith, you already saw his improvement. Last year, some of that was Mason was young and Eric Armstead was playing in the wrong spot. The coaching sucked, and you had another outside corner. All those things have changed.
Right. Yeah. And like we said, throw in Travis Hunter into that mix at outside corner as well. All right. You went with
side note really quick, because we were talking about the mobsters. So on my dad's side of the family, we have, or my mom's side of the family, my mom's dad's side of the family, one of his great uncles or something was Bugs Moran, who's a famous Chicago mobster.
Oh, wow.
And I just learned that in the last year. My grandma was like, by the way, did you know that? I was like, no.
So did he kill people?
I guess. I did not get to. He died in 1957, so I never got to.
We need to do a deep dive on him. Bugs, good old Bugsy. You went with a Seiya Suzuki highlight. Of course, a snub for the All-Star.
Yeah,
game.
I went on my rant yesterday about it, about how the snubs in general, more than just the Cubs snubs. But he's the only player in Major League Baseball right now. Cubs snubs. The only Major League Baseball player right now with 25 home runs and 75 RBIs. He in that moment, the guys, this was not even the Cubs broadcast, it was the ESPN, they were on national that night, and that national was he kind of, you feel like you should actually be able to see Seiya Suzuki in the All-Star game. He's been one of the better, guys at the plate this whole season, and they're going on that, and the guy was like, or at least put him in the home run derby, because he does have that spark to him too. And right as they're having that conversation, he hits this deep bomb to center field home run, and he was like, well, my job here's done now. there's my validation.
Which we don't know if he's in the home run derby yet or not.
Yeah, they haven't, and that's why I think he was just saying, well, if he didn't get that, maybe we'll see him in this aspect.
We shall see. And RJ, you went with a Lakers highlight.
Cole Swider, I like him.
Is this now?
Yeah. California Classic. Lakers are playing in right now, kind of a couple of tune-up games before each team heads to Vegas, if they're not there currently. Cole Swider went undrafted. I believe this was 2022. Has always believed in himself that he was the best shooter in the 2022 draft. I've always believed it. I've liked him as a player. he, in these 2 tune-up games that they've had in San Francisco, he has been a sharp shooter, an absolute sniper, which would make me feel completely okay if one Tennessee guy is shown the door here in a couple of weeks. I would not have a problem with that. Dalton Connect, tighten up.
Oh, you don't like him?
I like him, but I mean, listen, I think Dalton Connect, what Cole Swider's doing, Dalton Connect should be doing. I'm like 2 times as much for Cole Swider to have, let's see, 28 his first game, and then follow that up with a 20-point performance. I know they played tonight. I think they play against San Antonio, but in the highlights in which I've watched of Cole, I didn't know that he was with the South Bay Lakers, the G League affiliate, and that he would be playing with the Lakers Summer League team. Really becoming a vet. He's said to Bronny James as well as Dalton Connect, willing to help them out, as much as he can. But I'm rooting for the guy. I like Cole. I think defensively he may become a liability, but I think offensively, in terms of being like that spot up shooter in a league to where that's now where it's gone, where you need a plethora of shooters, especially on the offensive end, I really feel like he foots that bill. So I've been rooting for the guy. If I watch the highlights and it's a Cole Swider play, I mean, you would probably think I'm on the bench the way that I'm cheering for him. So, yeah, I mean, Cole Swider, let's get him in a Lakers jersey. Let's make it official. I'm bringing it to the table.
He has 58 threes made in the league so far, behind Buddy Boeheim with 70 and Jaden Shackelford with 62.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't realize Buddy Boeheim was playing that well. I'm, of course, trying to follow along with Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, and Will Richard. I loved the quote that Will Richard had the other day when he said it was a top 3 moment in his life when he got to meet his fellow teammate Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah.
Since he
I'm
was
sure.
drafted by the Warriors.
I would love to meet Steph Curry.
What's funny is you'd think that like Will Richard would have met, not necessarily Steph Curry, but like people like that somewhere along the way with the national championship run that Florida went on. It just seems to me like basketball is a small community, but not always.
What year is Steph in now? I just feel like it's been forever, but it's funny because the guys now coming into both the NBA and coming into the NFL, they are, with some of these guys when they're like 21, 22 years old, and you'll see them after a game, whatever,
Right.
They meet Aaron Rodgers and they watched Aaron Rodgers their whole life, for example, growing up. And it's weird for us because we're kind of in that in-between age of we're seeing these young guys, but also like where the older guys were still a little bit older than us. These guys are like, hey, when I was 10 years old, this was my idol, and now they get to play with them or against them, and it has to be kind of a surreal feeling.
Steph has played 16 years in the NBA, which I honestly
How
cannot
long do you
even
think
believe.
he'll go, RJ? How many years are in the tank for Steph?
Your legs are the first thing to go when, as a shooter. That's what a lot of Reggie Miller had said that a lot. That a sign of you getting older is your legs start to go, so you don't have that lift. It still seems to me that this is a guy that could go maybe 4 more years. I think he could hit the 20-year mark. However, I do believe he wants to compete for another title. Now, I don't know if the team in which he has currently constructed is going to be able to do that. There's one guy 6 hours down the road that may be interested in going to San Francisco. We'll see. I think he wants to retire a Warrior. He's already the greatest shooter of all time, but I do believe that he does want to win at least one more championship and put that on his resume. So I honestly believe he probably has 4 more years in which he can try to accomplish that feat. So, I mean, it's been a pleasure hating him, loving him, watching him. So, I mean, let's see what Steph is able to do, in my opinion, for the next 4, maybe 5 years max.
And since we're talking NBA, Paolo Banchero agreed to a 5-year, $239 million maximum rookie contract yesterday that could reach up to $287 million. Mamas, raise your babies to be NBA players, because that is an insane amount of money. But of course, they can make that because there's fewer players that each team has to pay. So you can't compare it to a sport like the NFL. Even if you think fewer people are watching the NBA, you're correct. But
rosters are smaller.
And they still have those giant NBA TV contracts when it comes to the NBA. All right, we've got more to do. The Terminix Pest of the Day is on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
I have a very specific set of skills. Who are you? My name is 1010XL.
What? Wait.
Good luck.
Here's Linda Beaver.
The dog days of summer are here, and so are the hottest deals of the year. Whether you're hauling down the street, cruising on the beach, or just escaping the heat, we have the ride you're looking for and the wow you experience you deserve. Save big on select models with sizzling summer savings, low financing, and limited time bonus cash on all trades. So don't sweat it. Come beat the heat at Beaver Automotive, where the summer deals will wow you.
Football season is almost here, so before it arrives, I'm going to get our home organized. Lauren Brooks here. Closets by Design is going to come to our house soon to look at our closets and laundry room because, y'all, we need serious organizational help. You can do the same. Call today to schedule a free in-home consultation and receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off with a free installation. Yes, it's 40% off plus an additional 15% off during the month of July. Call 904-878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
I used to dread going to the dentist. Every visit felt like a sales pitch with constant upselling, surprise fees on my bill, and I could never get in when I needed to. But Harbor Dental Care? Totally different. They saw me the next day, gave me honest pricing up front, and even set me up with a payment plan I could actually afford. No pressure, no surprise charges, just kind people who get it. If you want to experience dentistry the way it should be, book your appointment today at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through July 31st. And financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
They were right. It could have waited. I can't believe it happened to me. Reaching to check my phone. Now my family has to hear that I'm never coming home again.
Officer?
I'm so sorry. I have some very sad news to share with you.
Every day, 9 people on Florida roadways don't make it home. I was one of the people that didn't make it home.
Ride with Do Not Disturb. Every trip, every time. Let's get everyone home safely. A message from Florida Department of Transportation, Target Zero. For more information, visit targetzerofl.com.
Ready to ride the waves? Best Bet St. Augustine is turning up the heat with our Summer Splash promotion. We're giving away over $40,000 in cash and prizes, including a brand new 2025 Yamaha Wave Runner. From now through August 8th, every hour you play poker or table games earns you an entry to win. It all leads up to the grand prize drawing on August 9th. The more you play, the more chances you have. Don't miss your shot to make a splash this summer. Visit bestbetjacks.com for all the details. That's bestbetjacks.com.
I open the door and take you inside the locker room to get you closer to the field, the players and coaches you care about.
Get a look at Hayes' blog on 1010xl.com.
My blog is brought to you by Roland Reese Plumbing,
where quality and experience count.
Your yard starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
Frank Frangie here for Coil Fencing. Jacksonville is full of memorable sports moments. Remember Hal Sutton when he famously said, "Be the right club today"? Well, that's what Coil Fencing delivers. The right fence today. And they've been delivering the right fencing for both commercial and residential properties for nearly 100 years. If you're in the market for a new fence, call Coil & Sons today at 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com. Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Summer and fall registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball. Plus, girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. Fields and gyms all over the First Coast. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find something to do. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Hack
Packer here, and with 4th of July in the rearview mirror now, all eyes are pointing towards Labor Day and football season. How would you like to drop some weight prior to football season's arrival? Well, Awaken 180 Weight Loss is your answer. Back in February of 2024, I weighed 317 pounds. In just a couple of short weeks, I was down almost 40 pounds thanks to the great folks of Awaken 180 Weight Loss. It's that quick. The coaching you get, the information you get, it's all perfect with Awaken 180 Weight Loss, and they can change your life very, very quickly. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, do yourself a favor and go to awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com, or call 844-346-1800. Take it from me, a guy that failed in numerous diet programs over the years. I succeeded with Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If I can do it, you can do it. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
We just trying to catch a good time, even if it takes all night. Pass that bottle around the campfire, sipping apple pie moonshine.
All right, time now for today's Terminix Pest of the Day, as always brought to you by our friends at Terminix. You can find them online, terminix.com. They handle all of the pest control issues for Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, and all of your favorite event venues around town. They also handle all of that for us at our house. They have sprayed for pests, certainly wasps, mosquitoes, cockroaches, ants, all of that stuff. We used to have an issue at our house with all these tiny little ants being all throughout the house, and now they are completely gone, and we say thanks to Terminix for that. All right, today, Taylor, the Terminix Pest of the Day. These college football commissioners, well, there's not a commissioner, but the college football conference commissioners are driving me nuts. They all are lobbying for something that they want and they feel is best for their conference. But instead of the Power Four and then the group of six, I suppose, I can't keep up with the group one, especially now that there's the conference realignment with the Pac-12 and all that fun stuff. But we'll just call it the Power Four. Get together and discuss what's best for the sport. Each of your conferences are doing just fine. FSU and Clemson are going to stay in the ACC. The Big 12 feels like it's the deepest conference in all of college football. Clearly, the SEC and the Big 10 are making bukus of cash, and I understand that the SEC and Big 10 to the other two conferences feel superior, and they feel like they have the best teams in all of college football, and they win all the championships. So why should they have to then change what they want as far as the college football playoff and the automatic qualifying teams? Why should they change and acquiesce to these other conferences when they're the most powerful? I get that, but I need them, specifically Greg Sankey and Tony Pettetti, to put that aside and realize that those of us that love college football for the pure sport of college football are a little concerned that the sport is not what it once was. And my passion for that sport has always been something that it's the reason I work in sports, is my passion for college football specifically. I love the NFL, of course, but growing up as a diehard college football fan, a fan of college football across the country, especially in the South, the pageantry, the history, tradition of all that stuff is great. I'm not as worried about the pay for play. I'm not as worried about that aspect. I think that the players have deserved money. The NIL stuff will sort itself out. I've read Matt Hayes, our own Matt Hayes from XL Primetime, and then also writes for USA Today Sports. Today he penned an article about a booster for Texas Tech that has a lot of, he's a billionaire, and he's trying to fix the sport of college football and working with the White House and things like that. And the boosters have now been on record saying, and Matt wrote about this, that they're tired of not really getting a return on their investment. They're paying some of these high schoolers millions, and then not all of them work out, or they end up transferring to another school if they don't get their playing time. But just fix, to me, the NIL contract part of things and the transfer portal, and we're good as long as y'all can agree on those teams, like I said, the automatic qualifiers for the college football playoff. To me, it's really not that hard. Just the four of you get together and figure out what works for all of you. And if it doesn't work for all of you, then get an outside party to come in and kind of arbitrate and have these honest, candid conversations and put your ego aside and put the money part of it aside for now, because you know what? Y'all are looking so freaking greedy.
Yeah.
Like, let us just have our sport the way that it once was, even though players get paid, fine, whatever. But don't let them transfer every single year and treat it like free agency and not be held accountable for those things. I want to cheer for one player for 3 years on my football team. Is that so much to ask?
Right now, yes. Yeah, and I think that, Lauren, it's the ego word is a big part of it. There's a lot of egos in all of the conferences and all of sports in general, honestly. And I think that leads to a lot of selfishness. And part of that, like we're having the conversations for a little bit, and not that they've completely gone away, but I remember them kind of blowing up of the SEC kind of being like, we could start our own if we wanted to. Like, that's how powerful we are. That is so selfish to me. Like, that's one of the most selfish remarks you could possibly make or even think at that point, because you're taking away from the rest of college football of all of the tradition that was everything and making it into your own world because you can't, like, compromise with some other conferences and some other people every now and then.
Did y'all go to kindergarten?
Yeah. I'm like, and so it is frustrating. And I think when it comes to, it's also funny to me because you want to constantly beat the table, the Big Ten and SEC especially, of, okay, we're the best, and like we, which they have been, and that's been proven, but then why do you need all of these automatic bids? Because you want money. That's what it's about. It's not because you feel like your conference deserves to be in there more. It's because you know that you have more money coming in that case. Because if you feel like you are the best, then your teams are going to be there anyways. So why do you have to push so hard that you have to have X amount of teams in the college football playoff? To me, that, to your point, that greed word comes in, because it isn't about your players. It's not about the programs that are in your conference at that point. It's just how much money you can make. And then again, the world is money right now, and we've talked about it a lot. With the NFL have the same issues with the greediness of contracts when it comes to players and the organizations themselves. We just talked about this a few weeks ago with the Bengals and kind of the things that they've done contractually and some of the issues they've had. But so it lingers everywhere, and it lingers into in the real world outside of sports too. But at some point, you have to say you have this product that was built on all of the tradition of everything. And there's so many things that the college football programs still keep because the tradition was such a big part of things when it comes to the songs and when it comes to logos and when it comes to the chants and when it comes to just playing, making sure you're still playing certain teams when it comes to
protect the rivalries.
Yes. And so I do think that we've slowly started to lose that already. And if we push too hard, it's going to be completely gone, which is the last thing that true college football fans don't want. And maybe in the college football world, they think they'll be gaining other fans because they're making it closer to pro football. So the pro football fans will be like, oh, it's almost pro football times 2. And that'll gain those fans. But you're going to be losing a large chunk of, if you haven't already, I have people in my family who are like, I don't like watching college football like I used to watch college football. And that's going to continue to grow if you just keep pushing at your own like kind of selfish narrative rather than trying to make everything work for as best as possible for all of the conferences.
Yeah, once upon a time it was encouraging student athletes to get scholarship money that, some of them couldn't afford necessarily to go to college, or they were the first person in their family to go to college, and the scholarship meant everything to them. And certainly being able to play that sport was a means to their education. And then eventually, if they were able to play at the next level, that was even better. And certainly that was a means to a different end. But that's not what it was originally intended. Yeah. And it was supposed to be your school is something like that you are proud of and you connect to for your entire life. And whether you played a sport at your school or not, you still are so proud to have gone to that university and have those connections and those relationships. Yep. And you love to go back, once a year and sit in the stands and have so much fun and look back at the college students at that point in time and think, oh my gosh, I used to be one of them. Like tailgating all day and then getting into the stadium, late at night and watching your team hopefully win. But the purity of it, certainly we've lost that through NIL and things like that. And the transfer portal, to me, the fact that they correlated the time, like it was the transfer portal kind of being the wild, wild west. And then right on the heels of that NIL getting approved, they couldn't put the guardrails up for one, let alone having both
it was out of control
coincide
quickly,
at the same time. Right. And so by the time we get to that first weekend when we have the exciting games of the Alabama FSU and LSU Clemson, like we'll focus more on that than all this peripheral stuff. But certainly right now, before SEC Media Days next week and then ACC Media Days as well, that's what people are focused on in college football. It's less about the quarterbacks and the offensive lines and the skill players. And obviously the defenses too. It's less about that and it's more about all the things that are wrong with college football. And I just feel like these guys are grown adults. Like get together and figure it out. Everybody, even if you do have to compromise and you don't get everything that you want, you at least are protecting something that's so important. Because if the sport drastically changes, all that money that you've worked towards, I don't think it's going to stay in the same realm as it is
the same value. Yeah. And I think that every year we're going to have the conversations of once college football playoff time comes, who's in, who's out. It's going to be a conversation no matter what. But if it comes down to the point where some of the things that the SEC and the Big Ten want happen, that's going to be an even bigger uproar because there's going to be very deserving teams being left out at that point. And I think that that's going to make it feel like, okay, here we are. We're closer to maybe, again, the NFL where you guarantee, all these division winners are getting in. Even if they only won 7 games, they get that 4 seed. And like, that is when it starts losing some of the excitedness of the beginning of the playoffs. Once you get deep into it, the best of the best are left usually, and it kind of shakes out. But the beginning, if you're wanting to grow this project that is from all the way through December and now January, you're expanding college football through that. So if you want it to continue to be talked about in that way for those 2 months when it comes to the college football time, then you're going to have to compromise. You're going to have to figure out a way that maybe the Big Ten and the SEC get kind of a little bit of what they want, but the other conferences are too, because the other conferences are going to get to the point where it's just like, this isn't fun anymore. And for fans, it's not going to be fun anymore.
Yeah. Like at the time, I wasn't thrilled that Indiana got in the college football playoff, but they won 11 games. Yeah. South Carolina, Alabama, if y'all had won one more game each, you would have been in the college football playoff. Ole Miss, you were right there, but you missed the opportunity. Miami, you were right there, but you ended up losing to Syracuse. So Ohio State, because they didn't win the Big Ten, but was still able to win the national championship, is proof that you, at some point in time, have to have the right teams in, but you win a certain number of games and you're deserving. And so, win your games, everybody.
Win. And that's what I think also the expansion helps too, because some of these teams that maybe a normal person or fan or player may not have been watching are watching those teams. So how many guys were watching Indiana this year and being like, oh, I could go to Indiana and I could still have a chance at the college football playoff? That to me is what is going to grow college football the most. Is it may take a little bit. It's not like in 2 years all of a sudden Indiana can recruit like Alabama. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's going to be some kids that are like, I could go ride the bench at Alabama, or I could start at Indiana and I still have an opportunity to see the college football playoff. And if they feel like there's not that chance, you're going to lose all of that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, SMU, Arizona State, all those teams that we're also in. All right, we've got one segment to go. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
More videos, more podcasts, more Jaguars, preps, and college football. More of everything you love about Jacksonville sports at 1010XL.com.
This is Mark Nato. My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast orthopedic specialist performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast orthopedic specialists for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast orthopedic specialists take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast orthopedic specialists.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
Get ready. The Jacksonville Rock Orchestra brings to life the magic of Fleetwood Mac. Like you've never heard it before. A 27-piece symphony fused with a full rock band, performing timeless hits like Rhiannon, Dreams, and You Make Loving Fun. One night only, July 11th at the historic Florida Theater. Get tickets today at floridatheater.com.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Are you ready to play this summer? At the First Coast YMCA, we're committed to being your home for health and wellness and a place for friendly competition with team sports for adults and for kids. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball, flag football, soccer. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Discover all the benefits of YMCA membership and find your fun this summer at the Y. Registration for team sports and summer camps is open now. Visit fcymca.org.
What's the weekend in sports look like? I'm 1010XL's Dan Hicken, and I'll give you my takes and weekend updates on YouTube and Facebook. Musings with the media mogul. That's right, motivated by Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. Hurricanes happen in Florida. That's not news. But what happens even more often than hurricanes are home break-ins. And if security is important to you, you might want to look into hurricane-rated impact windows.
What you may not know is that hurricane-rated impact windows not only help protect your home in case of a hurricane, but they also offer another level of security for your home.
Have you seen those videos on YouTube that show people trying to break through an impact window? A thief is way too lazy to spend his energy trying to break through one of our impact windows. That's why he doesn't have a real job like you. He'd rather break your non-impact window while you're at work. Window World has high-quality, very affordable hurricane-rated impact windows to help protect your home from hurricanes and from lazy thieves.
Call us today at 904-443-7001. Get a free estimate and see for yourself. You save energy, get more security, and the windows add value to your home. With all Window World windows, you get the best guarantee in the window replacement business.
Window World,
simply the best for less.
And thank you for your business.
Maxed out on credit card, struggling with high interest debt? You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. That's Loan Pronto. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and have nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Call now and start the conversation. Go to loanpronto.com or call 999-1508. That's loanpronto.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
So I saw this article, Lauren, on CBS Sports talking about the biggest remaining need for every AFC team. And so I was just scrolling through to kind of see some of them. I'll get to the Jaguars one because I do want to get your thoughts on that. But I feel like some feel obvious when it comes to the Bengals. They have edge rusher on theirs, which I think is interesting because we just talked about their offensive line is the 31st ranked offensive line in the league. So I feel like you may skew towards that. But I guess with some of the back and forth with Trey Hendrickson and obviously the guy, they spent a high draft pick on a guy who and Shamar Stewart, obviously, that has had a whatever's going on there. I don't even think he's still signed his contract, and there's some weird stuff. So maybe I guess they're looking at it as that is a big need because their defense was also very bad last year. But I still feel like I may have put some sort of offensive lineman on that list. The Browns, they had wide receiver. I think most people we ranked out wide receiver rooms, and both of us were very underwhelmed of Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Jamari Thrash, and Deontay Johnson. So I would probably say that, especially with the quarterbacks that are in that room. If it's Joe Flacco, I think Flacco can kind of get by with guys sometimes just because he's that veteran guy, and the IQ side of it can pull him, not saying he's winning 10, 11 games, but can pull him through some wins. But if you have Kenny Pickett or Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel starting, and that's who you're throwing the ball to behind what was also a bottom-ranked offensive line, you're probably going to have a lot of issues offensively.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah. The Baltimore Ravens, they have defensive line, which is kind of interesting to me because I think a lot of people always think about that the Baltimore front being so bulky, but they said the roster is nearly faultless, so I guess they're just trying to find something wrong with it. But they said they've done a great job of adding help at positions of need. Defensive line is the choice, but the level of concern is much lower relative than other teams. So they talk about the edge rushers with Kyle Van Noy, and then I forgot always how to say that name, Owe. The team selected Marsh, the one that I love, Mike Green. I'm very high on Mike Green. I think that I think he was the probably next best edge rusher, and because of off the field stuff, he started to drop and dropped more than I thought. Pittsburgh, they have safety, which is funny because they just traded away their safety and Minkah Fitzpatrick. I wonder, and a lot of people have said it, is Jalen Ramsey. Are they going to try him at safety and see if that ends up working? Because they already have their corner room set, but their safety room is lacking now. So do they try and adjust that? But for the AFC South, so they have the Indianapolis Colts as with linebacker, and they say Zaire Franklin led the league in tackles last season, and other starting spot Jalen Carlisle's, who did some good things as a rookie, returns, but little is known about the options around him. If he does not progress and Franklin were to suffer an injury, the performance would go downhill, which we saw last year for the Colts. Early on, they dealt with so many defensive issues up front that it went from being like, oh, this looks actually like this could be a pretty good defense, to just drastically falling because of those injuries. And
I had Zaire Franklin as my kind of honorable mention when it comes to explosive players in the AFC South. Yeah, because of the other injuries.
And that shows you lose Zaire Franklin, and all of a sudden your defense is a massive concern. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have defensive tackle. And they say there's a lot of wish casting in regards to the Jacksonville defensive interior, hoping that Devon Hamilton and Eric Armstead return to form, and that second-year defensive tackle Mason Smith builds up upon his last campaign. There may not be many wide receiver duos in the league better than Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., but the position does not have a lot of talent aside from those two players, unless the Stock and Parker Washington. So they don't even mention Diami Brown in this article, by the way.
Yeah, they have not been in practice.
Yeah, cornerback is another area where they're relying on young players to continue upward trajectory. So they pretty much say the biggest one is that defensive tackle, but they could talk about wide receiver outside of Brian Thomas Jr. and then the cornerback, which I think I understand too, because of you don't really know what's happening opposite Tyson Campbell at this point, how much Travis will be there, if it's Jarian, if it's Monteric, whatever the situation may be. And then they have the Houston Texans interior offensive line, so I think that's the obvious one for that. We talked about that earlier. And then the Titans, they have wide receiver also, and they say that the average fan would be hard pressed to name anyone on in the Titans linebacker room right now, because it's Cody Barton, Otis Reese, Cedric Gray, and James Williams are on the two deep depth chart. But beyond Calvin Ridley, incoming rookie quarterback Cam Ward will be throwing to Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett. The investment on the offensive line should buy him more time, but Brian Callahan has his work cut out for him. So going back to the Jaguars, thoughts on just that defensive tackle part of being the biggest need?
Where are you going to find a defensive tackle that's good, that's available right now?
Yeah.
Good luck with that. And
unless it's a trade, and I'm not sure you're doing that.
Yeah, I don't. After the massive trade up that the Jaguars regime did to go from 5 to 2 and to get Travis Hunter, I don't know that you're willing to then trade more of your future resources and draft capital. But I suppose if it's like 2017, when the Jaguars felt like maybe a player away from really making a strong postseason push, that's when they went ahead and traded for Marcel Darius, and he did add to the defense that was already stacked.
Yeah.
This defense, I'm not sure that's necessarily already stacked, and I don't think it's one player away. If if it were one player away, I would almost think less defensive tackle, and I would probably say more either corner or safety, even though, yes, there's options at corner.
Yeah.
There's options at safety, but none are super proven outside of a Tyson Campbell, and Eric Murray certainly is a veteran in this league, but that's where I'd probably would have gone. But again, you're not going to find, again, unless you're trading, you're not going to find one of those talented free agents just hanging out, not having
They're
not
not like, hey,
signed.
come sign me.
Yeah, the wide receivers, I feel like there may be guys that haven't signed yet that are not necessarily fantastic, but at least
Keenan Allen's out there still.
But yeah, exactly. There is at least a name that you
Yeah.
recognize that hasn't signed yet, and I would imagine Keenan Allen is waiting to sign until he figures out a team in contention needs him.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, obviously he's towards the end of his career, so he's
Right.
definitely at that phase now where he probably wants to be on a contender. He probably wants to make at least a good chunk of money because he's still, when he's out there, a very good wide receiver. But to your point, there's not usually the defensive tackles that are just hanging around like that.
No, the stud defensive tackles, guys like a Chris Jones. That's a guy that, I mean, he held out, what was that, a season or 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, when we saw him sitting in the box during the first Chiefs game, but then he got a massive contract to match his massive production. I saw the ESPN's ranking of the top 10 defensive tackles in the league, according to executives, coaches, and scouts, has Dexter Lawrence first. It's usually Chris Jones.
Yeah.
This year, Dexter Lawrence there for the Giants. And then Chris Jones at number 2, Jalen Carter at number 3, Jeffrey Simmons number 4. Again, we had him on our explosive players in the AFC South yesterday. Quentin Williams, number 5. Leonard Williams, number 6. Marabuike with the Ravens, 7. DeForest Buckner with the Colts, 8. I did think about maybe we should have had him in our mentions
For
of explosive
Buckner.
players. Yeah, DeForest Buckner. Vita Vea with the Bucks is 9. And then Cameron Hayward at the Steelers is 10. All of those guys have, for the most part, I think, been on just one team.
Yeah, they kind of
Because
stick around.
If you get a talented defensive tackle, you don't let him walk in free agency.
Yeah, and I feel like it was like that for a long time when it came to the offensive linemen also, but I do think we've seen more offensive linemen moving around in the last few years, maybe because the contracts have gotten so high for some of those guys and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can pay this for a guard,
Right.
But a defensive tackle, when you're talking about ones that can create that pass rush up the middle and help your edges, and there's so many things, obviously stopping the run, there's so many things that they're doing, but you could argue, okay, well, the guard's protecting your quarterback, which is for most teams their most expensive asset. But yeah, I feel like when you do name the best defensive tackles in the league, most of the time they've been kind of hanging around that same team for a long time.
I also saw this on NFL.com, and this kind of stuff it appeals to the college football lover in me. So NFL ranked the triplets when it comes to quarterback, running back, wide receiver by their college.
Okay.
So not by teams in the NFL, but by the college that they attended. I was surprised at who number 2 was. I'll give you number 1. I don't think it's too much of a surprise. Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield, Joe Mixon, CeeDee Lamb.
Okay.
Those are obviously elite players, all 3 of them. Georgia came in at number 2 with Matthew Stafford, James Cook, and Ladd McConkey.
That's interesting.
I feel like there's some that are certainly much better than that. 3 was Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devonta Smith. If Tua had always been healthy, I feel like they could almost be number 1. Or if it was a different Alabama quarterback in the mix, they could be number 1 because obviously Jahmyr Gibbs and Devonta Smith, it's hard to be better than that. Ohio State came in at number 4, CJ Stroud, Quinshon Judkins, Terry McLaurin, number 5. And I also think this one should probably be higher, LSU.
Yeah, I was about to say LSU.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I feel
Jamar
like
Chase and
make-
Joe Burrow, obviously, automatically.
make a
Clyde
pick
Edwards
for
has
number
been a
1.
little underwhelming,
He has.
honestly. But because of the other 2,
Had Leonard Fournette had a longer career, been better, like he could have been the replacement there. And then, of course, the Jaguars tie. Number 6 is Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, and T. Higgins.
That's a good one. I honestly may put that one a little higher.
I think Trevor.
I guess
Travis
downs
had
it for people.
Travis Etienne had a down year last year, and then Trevor Lawrence has been hurt the last 2 years. But yeah, that one, if both of those players have the years that some are predicting them to do or projecting
Could
them to
definitely
have,
up.
they could certainly move up. Number 7,
fun, though.
Oregon, Justin Herbert, Bucky Irving, Troy Franklin. I'm not sure how many casual fans knew that Bucky Irving and Troy Franklin went to Oregon. but certainly, Justin Herbert did. Iowa State, Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, Jalen Knoll. So Jalen Knoll, as he hasn't played a down in the NFL, and he's already one of the top trios. North Carolina, which also surprised me. Drake May, Omarion Hampton, again, another rookie. Josh Downs, the receiver for the Colts. And finally, rounding out the top 10, not Florida, not Florida State, not Miami.
No.
Kirk Cousins, Kenneth Walker, Jaden Reed, all there from Michigan State. I love that type of stuff, though.
Oh, me too. That's very fun.
I enjoy, tracking back, especially with the transfer portal now, tracking back or trying to trace back and figure out, okay, so where did that player go to school? Because they went to 3 different schools at this point in time.
That would be, I feel like you could go so many routes because obviously they did quarterback, wide receiver, and running back. I wonder how much it would shift if you did quarterback, just pass catcher, so tight end or wide receiver and a running back. Because obviously when you start mixing in some of those tight ends there, that's upping some things for some of those schools.
Yeah. Were you surprised that they had rookies? I
guess, and I think
me a little bit.
Maybe that just shows that we don't have a lot of those 3 that are like people talk about, like the quarterback, wide receiver, and running back from one school that we're talking about. So they kind of had to project some of those because, and honestly, it was funny too because I was thinking LSU, and in my head I was thinking about Jaden Daniels. I don't know how I wasn't even thinking about Joe Burrow.
Yeah, which in 3 years, is there a difference? We shall see. All right, let's say hello to Matt Hayes.
Now, the 2-minute drill on 1010XL.
Hey, Matt, I referenced you earlier. I read the story, and you did such a great job outlining Cody Campbell and the Texas Tech billionaire who's trying to get involved in saving college football.
Well, he will be involved. And President Trump's going to name him basically the point man to figure out what the hell's going on, basically.
Does he have like an idea? Like, what are his?
Yeah, his idea
ideas?
is the Sports Broadcasting Rights Act of 1961 allowed the NFL teams to pool their media rights together and sell as one.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Power 4 conferences did that, they pooled their rights together and sold as one, they can make double what they make now. And right now they make about $3 billion annually combined.
But the SEC and Big Ten don't want to help the other two
SEC and Big Ten don't want to help anybody.
Right.
But the SEC and Big Ten also don't want to be pulled into court every other month with a different lawsuit from players who want X amount of money, who think we're not getting X, who think we should be getting this and not this. This fair market value versus free market value and the private NIL deals, which is going to be a big problem, just rife with lawsuits. So if they want to avoid that and avoid, more importantly, the antitrust that the federal government could slap down on them, they're going to have to play ball. And I think eventually they will come to a conclusion. They will figure it out.
They don't want to give other conferences more money, but in that they're risking not getting more money themselves.
Yes. Pretty much, yeah. They're I mean,
Sounds
part
like
of them,
the
well, part of them, right. Part of their argument is, well, where were these guys 4 years ago when we were making our deal? You know, when we were making our deal with ESPN, why didn't you guys say this 4 years ago? We can get X amount of money more. They don't believe it can happen.
Okay.
So I guess until they are shown the actual numbers, then it may be a different story. Or until they're actually dealing with multiple lawsuits on different fronts that could grow into the last huge lawsuit, the House settlement, which was a $2.8 billion in back pay, and the $20 to $23 million annual salary pool that each school now must spend or can spend. But if you're going to play college football, you must spend it on building a football team. So they're out a lot of money. So if they and the goal right now with all these universities is finding revenue, and the best way to get revenue is an increase in television rights, and the best way to increase your television rights right now is to pool them.
Because the expenses have gone way up. That is for sure.
And they're going to go higher. It's not like it's going to be stagnant, that salary pool. It's
Right.
going to go up every year.
Mm-hmm. And the boosters are tired of funding these athletes.
Sure, of course.
It all makes sense to me. I'm just ready for SEC Media Days next week for y'all to bring us all the coverage, and then us get back to talking to what's going to happen on the field. Because
actual football.
Week one is such a fantastic slate. Like, even if you take Ohio
Everywhere.
State, Texas aside, with the Miami, Notre Dame, LSU, Clemson, Florida State, Alabama, so many great storylines. All right, what's coming up today for y'all?
We're going to talk a lot of college football. We're going to talk some NFL. I don't know if you guys heard the Joe Burrow audio from the Netflix series.
I watched the first episode today. I'm going to attack the rest
You
of
see
the
a guy like that, a guy who's so committed to winning, a guy who's so committed to like doing everything right. They win by 10, and he's flipping out on the sidelines at the end of the game because they made so many mistakes. That's the kind of guy they need here.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy they need here in this franchise.
which we don't have the behind-the-scenes footage for
right,
Trevor.
right, but
so we don't know.
but you, I think it's very clear what kind of guy they have. Okay, so but that doesn't mean he can't be that guy. But and I don't want him to force him to be that guy. But I want a guy that's a little more take charge. That's a little more. This is my team, not anybody else's team. This is my team. Everybody get behind me. Let's go win a championship. Which is what Joe Burrow is, and that's what I want.
Off the field, Joe Burrow is the calmest individual. So calm. And that is certainly Trevor. All right, Matt, thank you so much. We'll be listening.
Thanks, ladies.
All right, that'll do it for us today. For Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime talking a ton of college football is next.